Welcome to the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from just outside cold but crisp Louisville, Kentucky. And John in Maryland, I'm sure it's cold there. Did you all get any snow over the last couple of days like we did here?
Well, Gary, man, how you doing, man? It's cold out here. I don't like it. It's in the 20s and the 30s. That's nowhere near 95 or 100. And you got to layer up. I had a hoodie on with a sweatshirt, with a t-shirt, with another tank top and big jacket, thermal gloves. That's just too much for me, Gary. That's just way too much for me, man.
John, that's almost too much for somebody from Wisconsin, where they need that almost every day from November 1st to May 1st. Man,
Yeah, yeah.
but the upside is, John, we got sports to talk about. We are in December. We are in Christmas time, which means we move closer to bowl season. And let's see, if you're in the NFC East, you're moving either toward the end of your season period or possibly a playoff berth. And I don't know who to talk about more, the Dallas Cowboys or the Philadelphia Eagles, but I'll leave that one to you. What do you think right now?
Let's make it real quick so we can get to what we really want to talk about. Cowboys lost another heartbreaker. They probably won't get in the playoffs. The Eagles won a game against the Raiders. They're probably going to get in the playoffs. The Giants lost again. We never thought they were going to the playoffs anyway. So that leaves us with the Washington Commanders, who beat the Giants. A good win for the Commanders. But the darndest thing happened after the game. And it came out yesterday. Jayden Daniels has been sidelined for the remainder of the season. Will not play any more games this year.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Graves, what do you say to this?
I really, honestly, John, thought they should have done it maybe after the last injury when he injured his elbow in the Monday night or Sunday night game. I'm trying to remember which one it was because it was yet another primetime disappointment for the Commanders. But um, only thing I would say is better late than never. The games really don't matter. I mean, really in terms of where they stand, the only thing that those games matter now is where they will finish in terms of draft order, if they even have a draft choice for next spring. But I'll say it like this. For his own good, they had to. It was, John, we had a similar situation in baseball, remember, with Steven Strasburg,
Mm-hmm.
where, they brought him out, he had a few wins, I think, I went to his debut game. He had, had a decent season, but they shut him down. Everybody, questioned the wisdom of that because it's like, well, you waited for this guy to come along, and yes, you knew he had some injuries, but he came in, he was a sensation for them, but they shut him down, presumably for what they thought was his own good. Fast forward a few years, he helps them win a World Series, but right after that, he signs a big contract and effectively never played again, had another injury and effectively never played again. I'm sure they're still paying him. Now, the reason why I go to that is when you have Jayden Daniels in football, he's your franchise player. You draft high for him, you get a Heisman Trophy winner, he gets you to the playoffs, he looks like your future, but right now he can't stay healthy. And why put him at risk over the final three games of the season that really won't matter at all anyway? Shut him down. Make sure he gets healthy. Make sure he gets bulked up. Make sure you work in some of these younger players now because This is the oldest team in the league, effectively, and that age caught up with them this year in many ways with injuries and just generally bad play on both sides of the ball. That's what I think.
Well, I can see it both ways on Daniels, playing and not playing. Um, he really needs the reps, in my opinion. But I think there's a concern. I
I
think
think he
there's a
needs the
con-
rest, but that's me.
I mean, yeah, I can see it your way too, Gary. I mean,
Yeah.
there there are people who are concerned. I'm not sure if Tunsil, what his injury is, Laramie Tunsil, if I got his name right,
You
and
did.
that's your blind side that's protecting you. So that he went out of the game on Sunday, so I don't know what his health is. So maybe that had something to do with it too.
Hmm.
You know, I still say this guy has freak injuries. I'm still not sold that he's injury prone. I'm I think I'm sold that he has freak injuries.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
well, and I've gone through them with you. Last year he fell on a ball and broke his ribs.
Hmm.
This year he perfectly puts his arm on the ground and dislocates his elbow, perfectly on the ground. Um,
Because I have a list.
the
I have a
knee, the
Yeah,
knee,
sprained left knee,
yeah.
right hamstring, and then the dislocated left elbow, which we all saw, and it saw it go away that the human body wasn't supposed to go. Um, but you continue.
I mean, yeah, I can't disagree with you, man. But I'm sitting on the side. I'm sitting on the fence on this. Like I said, I can see him having to sit down, like you say, and getting rest. But he's had so little snaps this year, in my opinion, that I just don't know if he has enough repetition. I think also they probably have to protect him from himself. I would venture to say he probably wants to go back out there and play. That's my thought. But I'm just not. I don't know, Gary. I don't know, man. I guess if it was me, I guess half of DC is gonna be mad at me. The other half is not because I'm probably gonna play him a little bit. I got to
Yeah.
send him back out there, man. I got to. But here's the other thing too that nobody talks about. Mariota has played that quarterback position better than Jayden Daniels has this year. Nobody really wants to say that.
Oh,
and,
hey,
and,
John, look, go ahead and say it, and I'll agree with you.
you know, I, Mariota. I'm not sitting here and saying Mariota's a better quarterback. That's not my point. But what I have said before, Mariota knows that playbook a little bit better. That's not to say Jayden Daniels is not studying. That's not my point. My point is Mariota has been in this system for his whole career. And Kingsbury does this system, and it's almost tailor made to what Mariota can do and cannot do. I think it's a good system for Jayden Daniels, but I think Mariota knows a few tricks that Daniels doesn't know yet. Overall, I think Daniels is a better quarterback, but this season, Mariota, in my humble opinion, Mariota has played better.
John, I agree with you. Now, all those things, you basically make a case for sitting Jayden Daniels. Um,
No,
I
no,
mean,
that's sad. I'd be a terrible lawyer, Gary. I
yeah,
just sent my man to jail.
yeah. Well, John, your argument is heart versus your head. I think your heart wants you to play Jayden Daniels because he is the face of the franchise, because he is the guy that they drafted. But everything that your head said, Mariota is playing better. Mariota knows the system. Mariota is tough. If you're going to salvage, if you're trying to salvage a decent draft position, I mean, you're not going to get the number one position as long as the Las Vegas Raiders are still in the NFL. But I do think that sitting him is for his own good, and sometimes you have to you have to make a difficult decision
Mm.
as a coach, as an organization, and I'm going to mention two letters and a number, RG3. You remember? Yes, he was a competitor. He suffered a knee injury his rookie season on that horrible turf at FedEx, and you know, came back. Probably should have been sat, but I don't want to see that happen again. It's easy. It's been really easy to make the comparisons between the two in terms of their injuries. I feel like for Jayden Daniels, you said he needs the reps. I said he needs the rest. And I think it's not so much rest. He needs to watch how this game is played. Watch a guy like Mariota execute the offense, or as you like to say, matriculate down the field, which the times I've seen him play, he's done he's done well. I mean, the record hasn't reflected it, of course, but I feel like this guy is, yeah. And again, you think about some of the other injuries that they've had on offense, with, let's see, what, McLaurin, is he still out? I didn't watch Sunday's game, but,
McLaurin played
McLaurin played, but I
and
mean,
played well.
yeah, he's missed time this year. Okay, he comes back, and now I guess you could say he's in his playing shape. Let's see, Deebo Samuel has been hurt. You haven't had all the parts out there at the same time, all the great parts, and now you've got Laramie Tunsil, with an injury, and that hurts in a lot of ways. I don't take the chance, especially against the Eagles. You're playing the Eagles on Saturday, and I would not put him out there for anything in the world against that defense because they have something to prove. The Eagles defense really has something to prove. They're trying to clinch a division and hold off the Cowboys. I never thought we would say that, 3 weeks ago. But and that's no slap at Dallas. It's really more about what in the world is going on in Philly. But a team that's desperate like Philly, I think they're going to come, guns a-blazing, so to speak. Remember what happened in that NFC Championship game last year, where they just basically beat the brakes off of them physically and on the scoreboard. With something to prove this year, I'm not putting him in that situation right now because, John, I'm going to say it. And yes, half of DC is probably going to hate me for saying this, but Jayden Daniels is fragile. He is fragile. And I'll just
Yeah.
leave it at that.
I tell you what, Gary, we'll leave fragility right there. But there were some other eggs that cracked over the weekend. How do you like that for a segue?
Oh, yeah.
And
Ooh, yeah. If we're thinking about where we're going with this, yeah.
um, so we have a torn ACL for Patrick Mahomes, a torn ACL for Micah Parsons. How, in your opinion, does this affect the AFC and the NFC?
Well, for the AFC, for the Chiefs, essentially it was the final nail, if you will, in their coffin for their playoff chances. That loss, coupled with, I think wins by Jacksonville, and I think what Houston won, that knocked them out of the playoffs. And the way that the Chiefs have played this year, we've seen a team that was headed for a reset anyway. It happens to a lot of Super Bowl champions, especially a team. If you look at a team like Kansas City that's had that kind of run, I think it was something like what, consecutive division titles, three Super Bowl wins, two Super Bowl losses. Yeah, with Patrick Mahomes, at some point you were going to have to do a reset. It's sad that it took a season-ending knee injury for that. Um, and I guess the upside for that, if you're Kansas City, and the analogies that I've heard the last couple of days is, well, look at what happened when Tom Brady when he went down, and supposedly it happened at the same point that Brady, I think, got hurt. Brady came back and won how many, three, at least three Super Bowls, with the Patriots, and then, another with the Bucks. So, the history with knee injuries, and ACL surgeries is that, they tend to come back stronger. But he, we have to see what kind of quarterback Patrick Mahomes becomes with a brace. And that's the reality. He's going to have to wear one. Michael Parsons, I'm a little bit more concerned with him as an edge rusher, the way that he plays. How does he come back? It's not just whether he comes back, but can he come back and be as effective with the way he plays on both sides of the line? Pass rush. He had 12 and a half sacks before he got injured. Will he be that same type of player next season if he returns next season? I'm not necessarily worried about Green Bay in the short term. Now, of course, their playoff chances are very tenuous to me to begin with because there are so many teams that are starting to separate themselves not only as division winners but as wild card teams, and there might not be room for the Packers, and that's where you have to reset in a hurry. I think that they will adjust for that, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to get them into the playoffs, especially in a division where you've got, let's see, that could be the division that sends maybe three teams, but I think ideally they'll probably just send two with the Bears and maybe the Lions. Now, having said that, the Packers hold the tiebreaker over the Lions, so that puts them in good stead in a sense. But you got to win these last three games, to really, really make it happen. Jordan Love is banged up. I mean, that's another thing for them going forward that they have to that they have to figure out. But for the NFC, I think his injury really hurts their short-term chances. And I think the question is, how do they fill that spot, and how do they tweak that defense to adjust for his loss because it's a big loss.
Yeah. Well, what would you do, Gary?
Well, it's too late to trade for another edge rusher. But I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think you have to figure out who might be your next your next pass rush guy, because so much I think this season was predicated on Michael Parsons. The other part of that, and what I'm about to say is going to sound really crazy, is that the Packers might have to score a lot more points to make up for that defense loss. I mean, I think that that's something that, you know, they might have to just beat teams by scoring more as opposed to defending and scoring along with that, scoring just enough to win. Something's going to have to happen with that offense. They're going to have to step up to make up for the loss. And again, that might win ball games. I don't know if it's going to win championships, but if your defense is depleted, and they've had a couple of injuries in their secondary, the Packers as well. So again, it's up to the offense. Then I'll just leave it there.
Well, Gary, we talked about the injuries, and we talked about the injuries to some of the players across the NFL. We talked about the concern about Jayden Daniels and being sat down for the rest of the season. But we have not talked about somebody who came back and stepped in and played a marvelous game. Phillip Rivers.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, a week ago, John, when that was announced, and we were just like, oh my gosh, if that isn't the white flag on a season. Um, on the other hand, you're talking about a guy who hasn't I'll say who's been rested for the past 5 years, I mean really 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
for real, not 5 seasons, but 5 whole years, comes back and nearly leads the Colts to victory. If they had, John, that would have been the best story. That's probably what we're talking about all week. And I do
Yeah,
think that,
you and I talked about it. They should have won.
yeah, yeah, they should have won. But again, yeah, what they lost on a field goal, which happens in the league. Um, and I can't really say anything bad about Philip Rivers, with that. Um, I think that says something about how well he can step into a situation and not, not just manage the offense, but almost get them into a position to win a game.
Well, it's going to be interesting. I didn't realize how far that the Colts have fallen off. They're like 8-6 now. And
Mhm.
I didn't realize that they were in third place. So they really need to win these last three games just to even think about the playoffs, man. So
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah. I
see.
mean, that might be the only division, that might be the division, I'll say, that sends three teams to the playoffs because Jacksonville is streaking. I mean, really streaking. Um, Houston is playing much, much better. And if Indy can really get it together, win two of these last three, I think they'll be in a pretty good shot to be in the playoffs because you figure, well, let's see. The AFC South, yeah, they could get three in, but of course you're talking about Buffalo and New England possibly, probably coming out of the East. Um, the West belongs to Denver. The AFC North looks like it could be Pittsburgh's right now with I guess what is it, a 1 game lead over Baltimore? Or is it
Mm-hmm.
might be, yeah, it's a 1 game lead, and they meet again the last week of the season. So, that one's up in the air, but that division is really only sending one team. So it's again, it's there for Indy to get in if they can, if Rivers can really rally that offense. Every time I think about Indy, though, and I really feel bad for Daniel Jones because you've heard me say all season, off camera and on, how I was really rooting for him to to have a good season that he was, because I've always thought he was still a serviceable quarterback. And of course, he unfortunately sustains a season-ending a season-ending, I think it was Achilles injury.
Mm-hmm.
And and my heart just hurts for him because it's like we love a good comeback story, and we've seen many of them this year. And I think still the game of the year might be the one between the Steelers and the Bengals, where you had two 40-year-old quarterbacks. That's right, you had Joe Flacco. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and Aaron Rodgers. That might have been one of the best games of the year. And Joe Flacco, led the Bengals to victory. Probably should still be the quarterback of the Bengals because I think he was playing better than, well, something I was about to say, playing better than Joe Flacco. But I just remember, John, that Joe Flacco had like 4 touchdowns last week, 4 touchdown passes, and they lost. I mean, here he is. He comes back first game and throws 4 touchdowns.
You mean
And
Joe Burrow?
I'm sorry, Joe Burrows. I'm sorry, Joe Burrow. Yeah, yeah. I'm getting my Joes mixed up. But um, but yeah, it's I think for a player like Philip Rivers, obviously it's not just instinct kicking in for him. It's it's clear that he has still studied the game, even as a grandfather. Yes, as a
Hmm.
grandfather. But if you're the Colts, you really have to look at your long term because bringing a 44-year-old guy in off the sideline, off his couch to lead your offense makes for a great story for 1, 2, or the remaining 4 or 5 weeks of the season. But now you have to think, do you draft a quarterback? What do you do with Anthony Richardson? What do you do with Daniel Jones? You brought him in, but again, he's going to be rehabbing into next season, and effectively, you don't have a quarterback. You just don't, and you got to figure out what you're going to do.
Well, maybe they could work in Philip Rivers bingo games in between practices, and maybe he could.
Neither one of us, John, have room to talk about age right now, or where we live. Because I think one of us lives in a retirement community, if I'm correct.
and proud of it.
Okay, okay. No, yeah, look, hey, John, I envy you because you don't have to mow lawns.
Don't have to mow lawns. I don't have to garden.
I have to
You
shovel
know, and,
snow.
and you don't have to shovel snow. And there's a lake behind my house with ducks and
Any
foxes and rabbits.
any
So I
fish?
love it.
Any
Fish.
fish?
I just love it. I absolutely love it. But we digress, man. But
Yes, let us digress.
look,
There's big fish in the college football playoffs.
great segue, Graves. Great segue, man. I like that.
Okay.
So go ahead and tell me about it, man. Do you see any upsets happening?
Uh,
If you tell me James Madison's going to be Oregon, the show's over.
John, no, I'm going to keep us on the air and say no. James Madison's a great story. And the Dukes just being in the playoffs, I think, makes me feel good that a a team, a smaller program can get on that stage. The
Mhm.
game that really concerns me is Tulane at Ole Miss. And when I say concerns, it's like I'm not really worried about Ole Miss, but with all the drama for the Rebels, with Lane Kiffin leaving the program a couple of weeks ago to take over at LSU, not being allowed to coach the team in the playoffs. Players, I think, are still upset. Yes, they'll try to rally around their assistant coach or whoever the interim coach was that was elevated for the playoffs. They could be a great story, but then again, they could be a one and done, especially against a Tulane team that can put points on the board and whose coach will be leaving the program to go to Florida next year and is probably doing reconnaissance for next year when he's with the Gators. That's a concern for me. Um, Miami at Texas A&M. Uh, I'm not really concerned about Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M is probably the best team not seeded or I mean I think that's one of those teams that can put a lot of points on the board. Yes, Oklahoma will host Alabama. Alabama I think can win that game and it won't be an upset. I'll say it like this: whoever wins that game, if it's Alabama though, it won't be an upset because what is that term? Familiarity breeds contempt.
Mhm.
And who knows? Maybe Kalen DeBoer is auditioning for the Michigan job. That's a rumor that won't go away. John, I don't want to go too deep in the weeds on that one, but when I saw that scenario, I was like, wow, this is how crazy college football is. You're talking about a transfer portal for the players, but the playoffs could represent a transfer portal for coaches.
It's going to be interesting, man. Oklahoma has a tall task because now you have to beat Alabama for a third straight time. I think Oregon defeats James Madison. I'll leave it at that. Texas A&M will beat Miami,
Hmm.
and what I have left, Ole Miss and Tulane. I think Tulane gives them a good game for a while, but Ole Miss wins. And I think at the end of the day, I wouldn't mind seeing Ohio State and Indiana go at it one more time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as we've seen from the Buckeyes looking ahead, that they bounce back from loss as well. They bounce back from from losing to that team up north and only managing 12 points in that game to basically run the table. Of course, winning one game at home to do that. Beating Tennessee and then just really running the table through the rest of the playoff schedule and beating Notre Dame. Sorry, John. In the title game, I still feel like as good as Indiana's fairy tale season, yeah, I'm going to say fairy tale only from the fact that they go in there as the number one seed. They are a formidable opponent. They really are. And no, I'm not saying that just because I live, just under 2 hours south of there, and we get all the reports about the Hoosiers every day. But again, I think this is a playoff that's built on experience, and I think Ohio State is very, very seasoned. Kurt Cignetti has built a great program in Bloomington. Um, they've got, of course, a Heisman Trophy quarterback in Mendoza. Um, but I'm not sure if that team has enough to say win, what is it, two, maybe three games to get, to win a championship. Ohio State is built to win championships. I'll just say it like
So
that.
I think Indiana, the way it's set up right now, they get the winner of Alabama, Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what they
Hmm.
get.
Yep, excuse me. Yeah. Well,
No, no, they don't. No, they don't. Wait, hold on. One, two,
yeah.
three, four has a bye. 5, 12, 6, 11, 7, 10, 8, 9. Um,
Oh, wait, let's see. Let me call up this bracket. I
wait,
was
8, 9. You're right. They get the winner of Oklahoma and Alabama.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They get that. And oh, the other team I forgot is Georgia, another team that is built for this. And that's that again, that's the concern I'd say for Indiana because again, if you look at the bracket, let's just say, they've got to face Texas Tech if Texas Tech gets past the winner between James Madison and Oregon. Texas Tech, I think, is one of those underrated teams that has flown under the radar with all the attention on Indiana and Ohio State and Georgia and maybe even Oklahoma and Alabama. That's I mean, for none of these teams, it's not easy for any of these teams, but I still like Ohio State just because of their experience. I like Georgia because their experience, they're being here. Indiana went last year. They're hosting a game now, so they have a really good chance. Again, they've got a complete package on both sides of the ball, but again. It's about experience. It's about the big stage, and that's where I want to see Indiana prove it if they're worthy of winning a national championship.
It's gonna be really interesting, Gary. I'm getting my popcorn ready for Friday night to sit down and watch some football.
Yes, indeedy.
Hey man, go ahead and take us home, Gary.
Well, okay. So we've laid out the plan for this weekend. We got Commanders and Eagles, and the Eagles chasing a division title, and the Commanders maybe trying to play spoiler with Marcus Mariota at quarterback. We've got the college football playoffs. And oh yeah, by the way, let's see, this team here, the Navy midshipmen, They're preparing for their bowl game after beating Army, coming back to beat Army, which, John, no matter who wins that game, we're all winners because they are defending our country. Let's see what else we got going on. Of course, there's plenty of college basketball. There's plenty of hockey. And let's see what else. Oh, yes, another sport near and dear to my heart. NCAA volleyball Final Four this weekend. Two of the best teams in the country are in that bracket, Nebraska and Kentucky, which I saw last weekend. And who knows? I think Nebraska still looks like the favorite because they've got Louisville's old coach, and that team has just been solid all season. They are a wrecking ball, so to speak. So is Kentucky, and I feel like they're on a collision course to meet in the final.
Yeah, didn't they lose this week in volleyball? Didn't they lose? It's a big upset in volleyball. Wasn't Nebraska going there?
Hold up, let me double check that because if they, I hope not.
Somebody got taken down in volleyball. It was a big upset.
Maybe it was Pitt. Let's see. What are we looking at here? And in that case, if that's true, uh, here we go. Brackets. Ooh, yep. I misspoke. I really misspoke. We might have to redo that segment, John, just because, yeah, Texas A&M upset Nebraska, and that's something that just can't happen. All right. So let me revise that. Because I saw what they did in the semifinals, and I thought they rolled in the finals. So I'm going to say Kentucky. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Kentucky because of what I've seen.
Well, it's going to be an exciting tournament, and everybody, if you get a chance to watch, please join Gary and watch some exciting volleyball. It's really a lot of fun, and let's see if Kentucky can bring it back home to the Bluegrass State.
They're going for number two. They won
Let,
during COVID. Nobody really knew about that one.
let's see if they can do it again. But watch some volleyball, watch some NFL football, watch some soccer, watch the NBA, watch college football, watch some college basketball for the men and women. But above all else, just watch some sports. Come back and see us real soon. Take care.